Well, the final frontier beckons. We arrive back after a summer break into very winter itself, given the fact the temperatures are down. Welcome to the International GT Open, everybody. Round 6 at Red Bull Ring in Austria. We are in the Styrian Mountains around this 4.326 kilometer circuit. 10 turns, 7 to the right, 3 to the left. A 70-minute race lies in wait with a driver change window in between. And as you can see, a slight speckling of rain, the clouds coming in. You can barely see the mountaintop with all the snow pitched on its spoke. But now we have got a fascinating race ahead. And obviously what has been the topic of discussion throughout the course of the day is what the weather is going to do. And naturally, with the questioning levels of rain seeping in throughout the day, whether it be little bits here and there, the drivers have been left guessing. Many of them, some of them saying slicks, some of them saying wets. The major question mark, though, is who is going to succeed. George Morgan here, your commentator alongside me, Chris Stevens. And Chris, it's a mystery to them, it's a mystery to us.
The only thing that isn't a mystery is that they can put the wet tyres on should they choose to, because the race has been declared wet. Although looking at the track at the moment, I would be surprised if anybody opted for those wet weather tyres. The only way I see that changing is if there is a sudden downpour in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, because you really want to avoid coming into the pits outside of the pit window, because you will take a significant time loss. You might be significantly quicker on a different set of tyres, but that is the furious calculations that are going on in all of the teams at the moment. When is the right time to box? Is it going to be worth it staying out and waiting for the pit window? It's all going to happen live right in front of us as the weather unfolds. Very close at the front of the field as well, we should say, with Jordan Pepper putting the Oregon Lamborghini number 10 on pole position. And the Lamborghini factory driver is very much flying the flag for Alessio De Leda's championship campaign now, because Pepper missed the Budapest round because he was racing in America, and so it's De Leda second in the championship at the moment. So we'll see him in the second half of the race. The Pro-Am championship as well, looking very fierce. Our most recent race winners in Alam Kader starting on the front row of the grid. This man is second in the Pro-Am on fifth on the grid, and also second in the Pro-Am standings. Karol Bash and Marcin Jedlinski just behind Polcini and Chiva. Nico Menzel was looking on for a potential pole position earlier in qualifying, but didn't come together in the end, so it's sixth for the car collection Porsche. In the top 10, we have all 6 of our manufacturers represented. It's Lamborghini, Ferrari, Mercedes in the top 3, but we also have Audi, Porsche and McLaren represented in the top 10. McLaren with a third car from Greystone GT in the Pro-Am standings. First time they are here with a pro car as Artem Petrov, who put the number 19 8th on the grid. So 2 Oregon cars inside the top 10. Rolf Eichen in his return to the International GT Open, just missing out there. But there is Diego Menchaca, fresh liveried number 17 car. That is very much hoping to get its championship back on track after another engine issue that saw them not finish in Paul Ricard.
Another fantastic return, though, for Oregon team with Pier Giorgio Testa and Jerry Canavicio. 3 out of the last 4 occasions we've raced here at Red Bull Ring. Of course, 2022, they went back-to-back with Kevin Ghilardoni, Glenn Van Berlo, as well then later with Benjamin Hites, Leonardo Polcini. And last season, they arrived here for the very first race with Max Paul and Pierre-Louis Chauvet taking victory in that opening race. And of course, we had the turbulent second race as well with Nicola Marinangeli, Riccardo Agostini winning on that occasion. There is Christopher Haase and Simon Riker's car. Riker in the car for the opening stint. Had some difficulties. They believe there might be a small issue with the car that had maintained a slow pace for them through the course of qualifying. It meant that they did struggle, but Riker doing a great job to bring the car to within some proximity of the top 10. They are our championship leaders, winning 3 races so far this campaign and 4 podiums to boot.
Only full season campaign that has won more than 1 race. We've had 6 different overall winners in the season so far. Of course, we had 2 wins for Almanar, but they are a part-time season entry. And East Talent leading the championship, heading into this, their home race. We are stone's throw away from Kirkberg by Mattighofen, where the team is based. and of course reigning teams champions there as well. But this is another championship contending car. Dominik Baumann, potential diff issues I heard in qualifying for the Austrian. Also in his home race, he is starting a rather lowly 15th on the grid for the car that enters this race third in the championship standings, with Baumann and Mikael Pitamba, the South African, who'll take the car in the second half of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be a fast and furious affair. Obviously, every team will be looking to find track position very early on. Christian Kozanowski didn't have many issues at all in qualifying. Highest placed Am, 17th on the grid. We'll be handing over to Stanislav Jedlinski, who began his career in the International GT Open all the way back in 2018. That is when his stint started. Of course, Christian Kozanowski arrived a little later. 2021 is when he first started racing here. Lewis Proctor, back with Stuart Proctor as well. Greystone, incidentally, carrying quite a few cars this time around. Well, obviously, with the fact that Dean McDonald and James Kell have also joined the group. And they have got quite an opportunity here to score some great points, with Alex Arkinaka lining up 19th on the grid for Tresor Attempto Racing as well alike.
I'd say that Lewis Proctor's a little out of position there. We'd normally see him, he's one of the quicker pros of the Pro-Am lot, down in 18th on the grid. I would expect that car to move forward a little bit, but of course we've got such a brilliant field now. So many pro drivers now that are, and the whole field in qualifying was only separated by 3 seconds. Well, that's from Lamborghini factory driver Jordan Pepper down to the bronze drivers at the back of the field.
Well, especially when you've got someone like Michele Rugolo, who is of course a legend of this series in many ways, has been part of it for so many years. We could take you through, though, highlights from Paul Ricard last time around, and as we always expect, the racing is fast and furious. We saw the East Talent Audi team coming toe-to-toe with the Oregon Lamborghinis. Of course, we then saw the Il Baroni Rampante of Giuseppe Cipriani just moving over to the outside, but it was wheel-to-wheel once more, as this time it was the Get Speed Mercedes belonging to Schiller and Bartone trying to duel with the East Talent Audi outfit, but they stormed to victory. Yet another win for Christopher Haase and Simon Riker. Race 2 got underway. Of course, it's a combination of Eddie Cheever as well as Marco Polcini, who took the first foray, but eventually got caught up by the likes of Haase and Riker as the race pursued. Of course, it would have been a huge opportunity there for Haase and Riker to go back-to-back in terms of victories, but the weather caused a complication of sorts. As they headed into the Mistral chicane, it was AF Corsa Ferrari on top in great style. And this is how the championship looks. It has been a long stint this season, but Haase and Riker 72 points in front. They are 3 points clear of Alessio Deleda and Dominik Baumann. Further back, 5 points even further behind with Mikael Pitamba. But it's still all to play for with 3 rounds left. Racing about to get underway here at Red Bull Ring. Let's take you through the starting grid. Here for race 1, on pole position, Jordan Pepper for Oregon Team Lamborghini in the Huracan GT3. Alongside him, Alan Coder. In third place, Fabian Schiller and Lucas Dunner, who had a very strong qualifying, was absolutely delighted when I caught up with him earlier on. Carol Bash in 5th place. Nico Menzel, who looked extremely promising, somehow found time in the gravel trap coming in towards Sector 3. Nicola Marinangeli in the 7th place spot, with Artem Petrov making it 2 Oregon Team cars in the top 10. 9th for Diego Menchaca for Motorpark, with James Kell on his maiden race here this season, starting in 10th place. 11th place for Rolf Eneikin. Simon Riker in 12th for East Talent Audi, championship leaders. 13th place for Michele Rugolo, a former winner around this circuit. Aaron Walker in 14th place. Further back then, Dominik Baumann in 15th, with Timon van der Helm in 16th. Looking down at 17th place, Christian Kozanowski, highest placed Am. Alongside him, Lewis Proctor for Greystone GT. Alex Arkinaka lines up in 19th in the Audi R8 LMS, with Marco Polcini, Pro-Am leaders at the moment, looking to go back-to-back as champions. Timo Rövkarl in 21st, with 22nd for Ernst Kirkmeyer. Morten Stromstead in 23rd, with Alessandro Cosi in 24th. 25th place for Giuseppe Cipriani. 26th for Johannes Zelger in the Porsche. Tsunami, great to see them back here. Libor Milotta in 27th, with 28th for Laurent de Meus. 29th for Zaid Gandor, and then Vladislav Lomko on returning under the GT Sport banner here this time of the GT Open. 31st for Kiki Satnana, Hash in 32nd, with Dexter Muller in 33rd, and Puerto Vera in 34th place. 35th went to Andre Borodin, another Greystone GT car. But the car's now getting set, ready to race. Formation lap now getting us started. Imperative for the drivers to find the grip, get those tyres warmed up. It's going to be tricky to manage, Chris.
It certainly is. The rain is abating for now. There is a stiff breeze out there. And if we haven't mentioned it already, it is very cold this weekend. Track temperatures barely in the double digits. The ambient temperature certainly is not. Everybody is wrapped up and huddling around tyre blankets to try and keep some warmth out there. It will be pretty warm inside the cars, I'm sure, but there's going to be a bit of struggle for tyre temperature, I'm sure, maybe some brake temperature as well. So then they need to be very cautious going into turn one for the first time, bearing in mind that the track is not entirely 100% dry, and there could still be some water lurking from earlier in the day in the curbing and in the runoff areas.
Yeah, they're going to have to be cautious, especially on those curves, especially around the rint corners as well, where it gets very fast-paced. A lot of cars can get it wrong. We saw Dan Arrow getting it wrong there last season. The lightning could strike twice in what is certainly going to be a turbulent weather situation. Jordan Pepper, though, ever so experienced, all the way from South Africa, but has dominated across the globe in various different championships, knows what to do in circumstances such as this. And I know when I caught up with him earlier, he said, I don't have anything to worry about. The view in front of me is clear. It's those behind we need to be concerned with. But obviously, as far as Pepper's concerned, he doesn't have to.
And 35 cars on this grid. It's a very healthy grid here in the International GT Open. Of course, the spray at the back is going to be absolutely awful if it does start raining again. But Jordan Pepper isn't going to be worrying about any of that. He has got the best seat in the house.
Yeah, no spray will be coming at his windscreen, only that of the rain should it fall harder later on. But he has got Alan Coder, who is very, very good in qualifying, the highest Pro-Am of the bunch, and is on the front row, looking to perhaps cause a dent in the prospects of one Jordan Pepper. But Oregon back on top, as they have been 3 in the last 4 races. Can they once again hit the top and take the top step of the podium? Fabian Schiller looking very keen in behind. Lucas Dunner, who had a fantastic qualifying in his own right, also sat in behind them, probably his most successful qualifying of the season so far, as we now watch them trickle down towards the start-finish line. It's all on Jordan Pepper at the front of the order. The right lights are red, they go green, it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Pepper, who's now weaving, looking to try and get those temperatures up at the same time. Cautious of Alan Coder in behind, and he has got a flurry of cars coming through turn one. Fabian Schiller, as well as Lucas Dunner, running wheel to wheel with him. Many of them taking the escape road. Christian Kozanowski, Ernst Kirkmeyer also using that escape as well. We run on board with a tsunami of Johannes Zelger in the Porsche. He's getting a lovely run up through towards turn 3. Look at this battle now over second place. Coder goes off wide, and look, Dunner, Lucas Dunner up the inside is going to try and get Schiller. Schiller moves up to second. Look at this, Nico Menzel also getting a brilliant start, Chris.
There might be some water down there at turn 3 because they were really struggling to get it stopped, and Alam Kader was eaten up very quickly, but it's Schiller into second, and the car collection Porsche of Nico Menzel going right around the outside for third position. If he can hang it out level there with Lucas Dunner, he will have the inside line going into this next left-hander and should follow Fabian Schiller there, but Lucas Dunner is not going to take that line down at all. The Motorpark Mercedes going around the outside there. You can see the difference between the racing line and off the line, and it seemed like there Lucas Dunner did manage to hang on to third position, but Menzel coming back at him on the inside. Still they're struggling for grip out there, and the Motorpark Mercedes kicks up just a little bit of dust from the curbing, as we see Simon Riker in the championship leading car trying to find his way through, but it looks like it's calmed down a little bit at the front of the field. Two Audi side by side as Alex Acker tries to get up the inside of our championship leading Audi and almost tags the Christian Kozanowski AM leading car as well, although actually Kozanowski's fallen back from the AM lead. It's Timo Rumpf leading that class now. So Pepper, while all that's been going on, he's 2.5 seconds clear of second place as Carol Bash now takes the Pro-Am lead going into turn 1.
Yeah, incredible stuff indeed. 3 wide almost heading through Jochen Ring corner. That was brave, wasn't it, folks? As we now watch the battles now start to continue further back. The Blau Motorsport car of Alan Coder now under distinct pressure once more. Yet another Oregon car looking to move its way up the order. Of course, Ralph and I can also trying to get through, but this is Petrov who is trying to muscle his way past. And I think he might have done. Carol Bash has moved on up as well, as Dominic Baumann is also giving chase. But Lucas Dunner having a great start. I must say, very impressed with his getaway way. He's still got Nico Menzel chasing his rear. Oh, no. I think that's Serna Giotto and Alessandro Cosi. I think that might be Cosi, actually, in the car.
It's Cosi and Laurent de Meus, two AF Corsa run cars in the gravel trap down at turn 3. And still it is not over for the Blau Motorsport car as he's trying to keep the number 19 at bay. It's Artem Petrov, and we have a safety car out, George, for that turn 3 goes, but Petrov hasn't seen it. He's still trying to make the move. He's got to give it Ferrari. Back. Surely he's going to see the safety car boards any second now. And yes, I think the message has just got through. Yeah, he had to relinquish that. No way could he get that move done. The safety car was out before, or the notification that it was out was on before the move could be made. So doing a good job there to withstand that overtake, but brilliant from Petrov. But a shame to see Cosi go out like that, obviously. Great to see both he and Serna Giotto in this championship, and also Laurent de Meus as well, who has Jamie Stanley alongside him. Obviously, he would have taken the stint in the second half, and of course, Alain Couder being watched on by Marcello Hahn. As now the car slowed down to Delta pace. But Jordan Pepper, unperturbed, he went clear, didn't he? Did not cease in any way. Let's take a look at a replay here, Chris. No, so look at that. No grip on the runoff area there at all. So it's two completely separate incidents then. Both Laurent de Meus and Alessandro Cozzi there just made the same mistake and ended up in exactly the same bit of the racetrack. Yeah, it was the painted section obviously doesn't carry as much grip as what you'd have being on the actual circuit in itself. So as soon as you get on that, very difficult to stop. So unfortunately for Cosi and of course Laurent de Meus, they were collected. But you can see the racing line, George, how there's that dry strip there that's not much wider than the cars themselves, and it's still damp off the racing line. And normally you would be trying to utilize all that extra escape road and curbing on the left-hand side to try and open up turn 3, but in these conditions, it's like driving on ice. Well, yeah, absolutely. So it's really, I mean, especially if you're on the slick tyres, if you're a driver who can manage it, then great. Obviously, some might have opted for it. It would not necessarily perhaps have that same skill set in order to keep the cars out on the track. Equally, though, you might have some that have risked it on the, well, not necessarily risked it, but have gone for the wet tyres in order to try and fend off these conditions. So it's a huge juggling act in amongst this grid right now, and some of them have got to make decisions as to whether they stick on this strategy going onwards. I mean, at this point, under safety car conditions, obviously allows the grid to settle down. They can reevaluate, maybe make some decisions behind the scenes. Maybe they might have to enforce a tyre change. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, it's not great news, this safety car, for the likes of Simon Riker or Alain Couder, in fact, who are two of the more heavily handicapped cars in this race. Not great news for Marco Pulcini either. Of course, it's based on your recent successes. So 15 seconds for the number 1 East Talent at Audi. The Alain Couder Ferrari is taking 20 seconds. And also 15 seconds for our Pro-Am Championship leaders, Marco Pulcini and Eddie Cheever. And then there are some additional ones as well. If you're a new entry, so the 33 Greystone GT and the 79 Tsunami Porsche, they're also taking a little bit of handicap as well. Yeah. Obviously, that is something the teams are going to have to battle against. They did stop by the Scuderia Villorba Corsa garage just prior to us going on air, and they were going through the driver change scenario. And obviously, Vlad Lomko, who is new to this kind of driver change system, where you have to unstrap, de-strap. It's a procedure, obviously, you have to follow in GT Open. Where what takes place in the European Le Mans series that he races in is that the engineer does it all for you. He doesn't have to do it. But a very somber-looking Alessandro Cosi just walking back. The marshals, no doubt, will go and collect the Ferrari, the AF Corsa 296, and take it out. But not an ideal start to the weekend for them. They're going to have to obviously get that car repaired, get that cosmetic damage worked out, hope that there's nothing else more sinister under the bonnet. It looks like it was just front left to front right, really, between the two, as obviously the two cars went into the gravel trap with Laurent de Meus following suit. But hopefully everything will be okay. But the car's now getting back into formation. The safety car hopefully won't be out too long and we can get back underway. I mean, the big question is, does the rain come down under the safety car, Chris? Oh, don't tempt fate there, George, because the sky has been ominous all day. We have had smatterings of rain, hence why off the racing line it's a bit damp. But definitely they were running out on slicks in the single-seater race that was running just before we got going for this race. And so I would imagine that most of the cars here are on slick tyres. The only gamble that you're sort of banking on is that it's going to absolutely pour it down before the driver change window opens, which is in about 20 minutes time, and that you'll make up the time that you lost running on wet tyres in what is now the drier part of the race.
Yeah, the cars now coming through into the middle sector. Still Jordan Pepper out in front, but Fabian Schiller also getting the best start possible that, of course, he could get, managing to get himself past Nico Menzel. Of course, it was a tie-up heading up through towards turn 3, but it all started coming out of turn 2, well, out of turn 1, leading through towards turn 2, because it was side by side between Dunner and Schiller. Dunner just wasn't quite able to fend him off for that much longer, but even Dunner himself getting past Nico Menzel and putting himself on the podium places, and he was absolutely superb in qualifying that third sector. He had it dialed in consistently, and is certainly showing that same almost killer instinct here in the race with the getaway that he had. So I think if you follow this through, it could be a good day for Motor Park. And obviously Diego Menchaca and Marcos Sibert sat in the top 10 as well. Watch out for those at the very end. They're still chasing their first win this season, despite them being so consistent through the course of the campaign, picking up a series of podiums between Portimao Race 2 and Race 1 at Hungaroring. No less than 5 podiums they acquired, and then they got their 6 at Paul Ricard in Race 1. So I mean, that is sensational consistency, and they're definitely one of the most consistent teams on the grid. Incidentally, there's only one team that have actually scored points regularly throughout the season. We're already green now this time. Well, actually, this is the replay. The race start coming through towards turn 1. Great start for Jordan Pepper, wasn't it, Chris? But you've got to look at the 3 cars in behind.
Yeah.
Schiller got a great start.
That was sensational, wasn't it? And more cars utilising the runoff area than actually on the racetrack itself. Wouldn't expect anything less from 35 GT3 drivers at the first time of asking. A couple of cars really bouncing over the curbs there as well, but Alam Kader really struggled there in the opening stages. I guess he got out onto the runoff area initially, a little bit pinched at turn 1, and then suddenly it was a lot of squabbling for position. He just sort of got shuffled backwards, really. He sort of settled into 6th position, but he's lost class position to Carol Bash, crucially. And of course, this is not great news if you're a Pro-Am driver. You've got your quick driver in at the moment as well. This is how Johannes Zalga saw it. His first GT3 race start aboard the Tsunami Porsche. And now also the first start for the Pro Greystone GT McLaren, James Kell at the wheel. Very well behaved, kept it on the track.
Did very well, must say, first getaway.
Going on the outside as well.
Going back to my point about consistent teams, the most consistent pairing on the grid, definitely Dominic Baumann and Mikael Pitamba. They have not been outside of the points at all this season. Whilst only taking, through the course of this campaign, 2 podiums, they finished 2nd back at Portimao in race 2, but then managed to achieve a 3rd place back at Hungaroring in race 3. They've scored points in every single race leading through to this moment. So if you're an odds man, you would fancy their chances to at least get another top 10 this time, but they've still got a bit of work to do. 14th place for Dominic Baumann, but remember, it's all about that crucial second stint, where, of course, they take the car to the checkered flag line. And I must say, if you want a driver behind the wheel, Mikael Pitamba has a defensive head, but he's not too bad in terms of pace either.
He's been improving a lot in his 2nd year of GT3 competition. Of course, championship leader Simon Riker down in 18th at the moment. We've got a real mixed bag out there at the moment, don't we? So your money would be on the car that is 2nd place at the championship at the moment, that's leading the race. But also Fabian Schiller, they're another car that just needs to be scoring points, because they started off the season so well in Portimao, but it's gone rather south since then. Whereas conversely, Oregon really struggled at the start of the season. They've come on quite strong since then. As a team, they've won 2 races, one for the 63, one for the 10, which was in Hockenheim. And again, just needed to close that gap to the championship leaders. It's 12 points between the top 6 in the championship, George. And when you bear in mind as well the fact that in 2 meetings' time we go to Monza for the double points endurance finale, it's very possible that all 6 of those entries could still be in the championship fight. Now look at that, under safety car conditions.
Timo
Rumpfkeil, the AM class leader as it stands, getting it a bit wrong. Now, I can't see any rain out of the window, but we are rather well covered and protected in what is the top of the grandstand on the front straight. And so maybe it is raining a little bit more out there, and that just caught Team out slightly, or he just got onto a wet patch. But yeah, they really need to be careful out there, and they need to be careful next time around because the safety car is coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Safety car coming in this lap, folks, so very shortly we'll be back underway. But what I can tell you is that I don't think it's raining. If it is raining, it's not a lot because there's no wipers in action at the moment. So,
telltale sign.
So, you know, there's not going to be... there's certainly not any signs of that, so I think that gives us a good clue as to the conditions out there right now. It just seems that, okay, we had a bit of dampness left over from this morning, but because it isn't warm by any stretch of the imagination, there's just no way of drying it up. So it's really down to the cars to put the heat into the track in order to try and get the temperature up, in order to try and dry up the circuit almost, but it just seems to be counteracted at the moment with the air temperature that we have out there at this stage. Obviously, it's fascinating stuff, honestly. Pepper out in front, Schiller in second place, and then the top three is leveled out with Lucas Dunner. We have Nico Menzel in fourth, Bash still running at the top in terms of the Pro-Am contenders. In fact, he's taken Pro-Am lead away from Alan Coder after that cluster of cars met at turn 3. Coming through Remus corner, of course, that led to the incident further back as well. Timo Rumpfkar leading the AM contingent as well further down. So Motor Park in a very good position in AM as well as their Pro-Am and Pro, as we now watch them head down towards the final couple of corners. Pepper now starting to put the foot to the floor once more and looking to stretch his grid out, not wasting any time. Through Rins he will go, and then he's going to take the final corner, just running onto the paint ever so slightly, but it won't concern him too much. Around Red Bull Mobile curve they will go. Green flags now alight here at Spielberg, and it's pedal to the metal for the second time in this race. 56 minutes to go, and it's still Jordan Pepper who leads the way. Certainly the cars are starting to stretch out a little bit more this time with Schiller in behind, but look at Lucas Dunner wide from Bash. Carol Bash very wide on the escape coming out of turn 1. That opens the door for Alan Coder if he can generate a little bit of positive momentum up towards turn 3. Bash, I think, though, has enough in between he and Pro-Am second place to hold on to it, but all the cars nice and orderly heading up through towards turn 3 this time, and definitely a better dry line being displayed here on the run up towards turn 3 here, Chris.
And Dominic Baumann dispatching of the AM class leader Timo Rumpfkar, utilising that slightly wider dry line that has developed in the last few minutes or so. So that is now 13th position for the Austrian. Look at Menzel getting right underneath the other Motor Park Mercedes there of Lucas Dunner. You saw he was battling for that third place spot in the opening stages of the race, and he's trying to get that Porsche back up onto an overall podium place. As that was a little wide there from Dunner, and now Menzel has got a face full of Motor Park Mercedes, and again the Mercedes goes wide. Menzel gets underneath him, and that's an easy move in the end for Nico Menzel.
Yeah, lovely move from Menzel. Diego Medchaka also moving past Nicola Marinangeli, so he moves up into 9th place. We've also got further down James Kell trying to catch up with those two in front of him as well alike, but it looks like Marinangeli is going to be next on his list as they round that final corner now, leading up through towards turn 1. The two Oregons running line astern as well further back, so a great start for Rolf and Eichen. Menzel confirmed into 3rd place as they now head up through towards turn 1 yet again, and Carol Bash is getting into the fight between he and Lucas Dunner this time, came very close to the tail of that Mercedes. Now on the run up through towards turn 3, he'll be hoping to get a nice bit of momentum, as well as Christian Korzanowski, who is closing after Timo Rumpfkar as well. So it's all coming together. Up they go through towards Remus corner once again. Bash once again on the tail of Dunner, obviously just waiting for his moment to strike. Let's take a look at this move again. Fantastic effort from Nico Menzel.
Yeah, Dunner just a little wide there. There's probably still a little bit of moisture on the outside, has a bit of a wiggle. Menzel with the clean line, just drives his Porsche through the open gap. Now sets his sights on the Mercedes of Fabian Schiller. It's worth noting the Audi, Lamborghini, Porsche and Ferrari all running 10 kilos lighter than they were in Paul Ricard, as we adjust the balance of performance for each of these cars per circuit. And as part of that as well, the Porsche running a marginally bigger restrictor, which means a little bit more power from the flat 6. As Kader tries to regain some composure, still sitting there in 6th ahead of Artem Petrov and Rolf and Eichen, the two Oregon Lamborghini teammates. Rolf and Eichen returning to the GT Open for the first time since his terrible accident at Spa in qualifying. Has come back to a race-winning team as Polcini was victorious in Budapest, and there he's got Diego Menchaca. That's another car going for the championship, of course. Here, Marcos Seber, fourth in the standings going into this weekend off the back of another DNF for the team, another engine-related problem that has caused them issues. But Pepper is wasting no time. He's already 2.7 seconds clear. There it is, and just banged in a 1:30.1 as well, fastest lap of the race.
And he's just gone purple again in the first sector with a 22.3, so a great effort from Jordan Pepper, who is now starting to grind the gears out and also grind out Fabian Schiller. Let's take a look at this. Oh, that's Hash, who has made contact, I think, with Kiki Saknana heading through the Rint corner. So unfortunately, Kiki being fed wide after, I think Hash must have lost it in the rear somewhere, maybe a little bit of contact.
I think there was contact before the spin there, George.
Must have unsettled the balance of the car and it just sent them both wide, but unfortunate there. But nonetheless, they'll be back on track and looking to recover. Obviously no concerns as far as the safety car. So only one at this stage, but Pepper now 3.4 and he's still motoring onwards. We'll have to take a look and see what the second sector brings. And once again, he's purple with a 40.147. Just look at the gap. And now it's Schiller who is trying to keep Menzel in behind.
And it's not like he's pulling away from, you know, a gentleman driver. This is Fabian Schiller we're talking about, Mercedes Works driver. And, you know, two factory drivers leading the way at the moment. Jordan Pepper for Lamborghini, Fabian Schiller for Mercedes. But he does look like he's struggling a little bit for overall pace, but especially compared to Pepper, because Menzel is looking slightly quicker at the moment. Of course, the Porsche, once you add a little bit of moisture onto the racetrack, that rear-engine Porsche just sort of comes alive, and it gets excellent traction because all the weight is on the rear end of the car.
Yeah, does certainly help, especially in these heavy braking scenarios. And now chasing after Fabian Schiller again. I must say, I've been really impressed with Menzel. He was brilliant in qualifying, and whilst he didn't have the greatest starts of all time, well, actually, he said that's a lie. He had a great start into this race and has actually shown that he has got more than enough punch in that Porsche to enlist a decent result here this time, and he's giving Schiller somewhat of a headache. And do wonder whether there is perhaps they made a decision with Schiller's car maybe to do something a little different. Not quite sure. Just seems alarming that he's 3.7 seconds behind Pepper right now. As far as the P1 battle's concerned.
And he's wide there through turn 6. Hasn't allowed the Porsche to go through, but well, very nearly did there. Menzel right on the back of that thing. Of course, Fabian Schiller, another championship contender. It's been a very up and down season. Started off with victory in Portimao, front left suspension failure in Hockenheim. His teammate Anthony Bartone sadly has had a couple of incidents out on the racetrack as well. Nico Menzel and Gustav Bergström haven't had it plain sailing as well. It's Bergström's first season in GT3 competition. And also, there's been some odd electrical issues on that Porsche where sometimes they seem to just lose the ABS and the traction control. Not what you'd want in a situation like today where we've got a slightly damp track. But obviously, all is well aboard that Porsche at the moment because Menzel is lapping quicker than Schiller. Not quite as quick as our race leader Jordan Pepper, but maybe if he gets into some free air, he can start to do something about that gap as he tries to get the little up and under there down at the hairpin at turn 3. How does the flat 6 compare to the 6.2 litre V8 in the Mercedes? Very even Stevens between the two of them down the back straight, and so when we break for turn 4, it is still Schiller leading Menzel. Yeah,
Schiller still holding on at this stage, and they only took their second podium at Paul Ricard in the first race of the weekend. Pepper enlisting a 29.784, so continuing to punch in at the fastest laps. And that's the first 1:29 we've had in this race, and it's well beyond the 1:30s, obviously by nearly 3/10, so it's nearly 2.5 tenths, beyond 2 tenths at the very least anyway. There's the two Oregon Lamborghinis with Petrov and an Icon. Ralph and Icon, remember, starting outside the top 10 and managing to work his way through the field, and he's bringing along Diego Menchaca, who will be handing over to Marcos Seber later on, as I said before, still chasing their first win of the season, but carry the most stellar podium record so far in this championship as we now watch them head through towards turn 1 again.
I don't want to jinx it, George, but it seems like the weather's really calming down out there. Not only has the rain stopped, but the very stiff breeze has dissipated somewhat as well. The flags aren't waving quite so aggressively now, but this looks like a really good run for Menzel here. He got a great exit out of the first corner at Lauda, and Schiller's going to have to cover the inside line here to keep that Porsche at bay. So once again, that'll give a nice exit for the the German, as he heads out of the hairpin, and could well be mounting a challenge for second position when we get down to the braking zone at turn 4. He's still tucked up right behind the Mercedes, and well, the Mercedes looking very good in a straight line. Even though Menzel is a couple of Ks quicker down the straight because of the slipstream, it's not enough for him to get underneath him.
A little bit of a slow out as well from Petrov there, coming out of, out of Slosh Gold, and now they're going to run wheel to wheel between the two Oregon car Lamborghinis coming together, heading through Rauschenwerth curve. The 63 of Rolf and Eichen going around the outside, and Schiller's being pressurised as well by Nico Menzel. So the race starting to come alive now. These two have careered onwards from Lucas Dunner by 1.4 seconds as they now heading towards ring corner. Just look, a wider line taken by Menzel, just looking to try and carry that exit speed through towards the final corner at turn 10 in order to leverage P2 more in his favour. He might yet get a chance on the run up towards Remus, but first and foremost needs a decent exit coming out of turn 1. It looks like the Oregon cars have sorted themselves out, and a Niken has come out on top of Petrov. He's in 7th place.
Yeah, so a swap between the two teammates there, and Menchak will surely be trying to capitalise on that. Nicola Marinangeli, our most recent race winner, there in 10th position as well. But right, seconds out, round 2 between the Mercedes and the Porsche, two iconic German brands. Well, I thought for a second there Menzel was going to try the dummy and get up the inside into turn 3. I mean, while this is all going on, Pepper is 4.9 seconds clear of everyone else now. Still the only driver able to get in the 129s. Not on that last lap, it was a 30.0, but still quicker than anyone else out there. And you see, by the time they get down to turn 4, Menzel's losing out.
He is. Just whether that setup or the car itself is built for certain portions of this circuit, definitely looks like heading up through towards turn 3 that it is in his favour. Car 786, a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision.
So that's Kiki Sagnano we saw there with Hash, so that rather confirms the suspicion that Hash was
contact between the two,
pitched into the spin rather than him losing the car.
Yeah, bit unlucky there for Hash, but penalised is Kiki Sagnana. Of course, we did see Adam Osaka briefly inside the garage, probably was a little heartbroken, obviously, with that, because he will be taking over the car a little bit later. But
and they have to take 10 seconds of handicap as well.
They do, so insult to injury still to come, unfortunately, for the Get Speed Mercedes as they head in towards turn 1. And again, a really more aggressive line taken from Menzel, a little bit wider. He carried it through as opposed to Schiller. I think Schiller thinking more defensive-minded as they now look to head up through towards turn 3. There's Dunner in the background. Still got Carol Bash chasing after him with Alan Codet in the distance. Again, a defensive line taken from Fabian Schiller. Again, the track looks like it's trying to a wider line even more so. So less are we moving into rain territory. Looks like it might stabilise.
Yeah, let's see if this actually holds up throughout the entire race. We were promised rain at 2 o'clock. Well, it's closer to 3 o'clock now, so the rain is late. Now, usually in those scenarios, all the rain you're anticipating seems to come in a very short space of time. But for now, all is well. And so we've got battling slightly further back. It's Alex Acker trying to get up ahead of Christian Korzanowski. So this is for 15th place. Championship leader Simon Riker just behind him as well. 2 Audi line astern. Attempto Racing out of East Talent. And Riker's going to draw level here with Acker to the outside of turn number 6. And maintaining that position as it goes around the corner, but no way through there. Now I look up the inside into 7, still no way through. Back to the battle for second place as we're 2 minutes away from the driver change window. Now the current leaders, that we anticipate they would stay out for as long as possible, really, because it's going well for them at the moment. They've got the quick driver in the car at the moment, and especially for the 2 Pro-Am cars chasing them as well. Several cars are under investigation for safety car procedure, by the way. So the Goodspeed racing team and the Greystone McLaren number 24. And when I say Goodspeed, I do mean Goodspeed. It's a Polish entry. It's got nothing to do with the Get Speed team, but I saw some comments from Paul Ricard saying it's Get Speed, not Goodspeed. And, well, no, there is a Goodspeed.
Absolutely. Prato Vera driving that car along with Dan Arrow as we now watch Schiller once again head down through towards Sloshgold, 5.6 seconds away from Pepper now, who's still putting out some pretty hard lap times right now. Alam Coudet, incidentally, earlier on, as well as Rolf and Eichen, both were matching sector times. Both of them were purple not too long ago, so they're starting to up the ante and close up on the back of Carol Bash, as they still look to persevere after Lucas Dunner. Incidentally, Dunner has closed up a little bit. Remember, that gap was 1.7. Well, it's 0.9 now, so he's managed to bring himself to within a second this time and might yet get some slipstream off the back of Nico Menzel's Porsche, as they now once again take the inside curb heading in towards the Jochen Rindt section, then down through towards the final corner on the track, turn 10. Once again, still the gap fairly similar to what it has always been. Schiller able to keep Nico Menzel in behind. Remember, of course, Schiller will be swapping over for Anthony Bartone when it comes to the driver change period, and that is actually going to open up in the next 20 seconds. So obviously some decisive decisions will be made. Menzel went over the curb just a little bit there, a rough ride over the sleeping policeman.
Yeah, and discovering how much grip there is out there as well. Probably not as much as there is on the actual racetrack itself. So not as close that time around to Schiller on the back of the Mercedes going into turn number 3. See Rolf and Eichen still sitting there in 7th position. Alam Cadet still got the class-leading Audi just in front of him, just within reach. It's painfully close, but he has just done the best first sector, has Kader actually, in his pursuit of Carol Bash. And of course, he'll be handing over to Marcin Jedlinski, whereas Alam Cadet over to Marcelo Hahn. It's an all-Brazilian pairing there. First car in the pits is Dexter Muller, and those are slicks going on that car, so they're not anticipating any rain, or just saying, well, it's dry for now, so this is what we're going to go with. Also into the pits has come Kiki Saknana and Hash as well in the car collection Porsche.
Yeah, already the driver's standing outside and waiting. I can already see Christopher Haas is standing outside the Easter Lent Audi garage. So no doubt Simon Reich is going to be coming in very shortly. And we'll see more cars looking to take the box. Obviously, Yannick Mettler, a very well-versed GT3 driver, an outright professional who has taken part in various different kinds of GT3 races, whether it be endurance or sprint. He knows all about it, and is going to be hoping that he can help Dexter Muller in his bid to a decent result this time. Also Oregon looking for a pit stop as well, the 63 coming in. And of course, that will be Leonardo Polcini stepping into the seat for Rolf and Eichen, who's just come back after his spell on the sidelines after that serious crash back at Spa. But Polcini winning with Simon Connor Prim not too long ago this season. And you never know, they could be in a winning return should this race end the way, well, end in their favour.
So also into the pits, Pro-Am Championship leaders, and there is Simon Riker there. So Audi Works driver Christopher Haas getting aboard. That's going to be a very rapid car in the second half of this race. Fabio Babini about to climb aboard the Tsunami Racing Team Porsche, which has been with us in GT Cup competition this year, but now making their GT Open debut. Not their GT3 debut, as they took part in the Golf 12 Hours last year, but good to see them with us. As we see, the pit lane is a hive of activity now, with AF Corsa also in with their pro car, the 51. So Vincent Abril about to get aboard that car, Motor Park in as well. But Jordan Pepper continues on his way, a luxurious 5.9 seconds clear of Fabian Schiller.
Yeah, he's in good form, isn't he? He was absolutely rapid in qualifying, was delighted to take the pole as well. And now, furthermore, stamping his authority on this field by persevering and going clear of the group behind. Fabian Schiller now 6 seconds in behind and still trying to keep Nico Menzel at bay. So now we watch as the Oregon number 10 storms up through towards turn 3. Dominic Baumann has got himself ahead of McDonald as McDonald now steps in the car ahead of James Kell. And so that's a change at Greystone GT. Timo Rumpfkeil is still out and about on track as well. Christian Korzanowski would do the longest stint, as you would expect. There is the driver change for the Greystone GT in its maiden visit in the GT Open under Dean McDonald and James Kell. And McDonald making his way through, but look at the cluster of cars here now, all fighting it out, including the Tsunami RT. And he's currently accompanied by Michele Rugolo as well.
Yeah, so you've got cars that are coming out of the pits, coming up against cars that are a lap ahead. And Fabio Babini there was finding out just how much grip there was on the inside of turn 3 as he lit up those rear Michelin tyres on the Porsche. But no concern to these guys. They're in clear air out there at the moment and enjoying life out there. So who's this? This is Ziad Gandor, the AM entry that has joined us for this weekend, joining us from competition in America. But there's still 10 minutes left on the driver change window, and obviously the trend is that if you're going to extend the pit window, you do it right down to the last possible second. And so they are going to come up on a bit of traffic there. As Marcos Seabear is the blue Mercedes just in front of them. And of course, yeah, there might be similar brands there, but it's a motorpark car against a get-speed car. They're not going to do each other any favours, especially considering they're both going for the championship.
Absolutely, and as far as Marcos Seabear is concerned, he is very much in this title fight. They're looking to get yet another podium, and if not, their first race win. Marzio Moretti is going to step in for Artem Petrov, who had a good start to this race as well. Alike Oregon looking in great form around a track where they've been so successful in the past. Jerry Cannaviccio and Pier Giorgio Testa back in behind the scenes, hoping that their team does the business. Mikael Pitamba jumping in for Dominic Baumann. As well, another pairing that have witnessed success for their teams as well, respectfully. Again, yet another look down the inside, this time from Nico Menzel on Fabian Schiller. He's been trying with all his might, but unable to do it so far. Michele Rugolo now making his way past the cars that have now come into pit, but once again, Schiller forced to go defensive as Menzel once again hunts down the inside, coming through Roche and Verve Curve. I tell you what, fair play. I mean, we know that Fabian Schiller's a great driver, a fast driver, but this is exquisite defending.
I think Menzel needs to get his Carrera Cup elbows out.
He might
start
have to.
Forcing the issue.
Well, he might have to at this rate. I mean, Schiller is obviously an exquisite attacker, but also by the same token, a great defender. So it's going to be equally as hard for Nico Menzel to get this one and done. Andre Boronin coming out. Ollie Webb now takes the wheel, so he'll be hoping for a decent final stint.
Up there, 24 Greystone GT McLaren there. Just see Mikael Pitamba on the left-hand side of screen, heading out of pit lane as the leaders made their way past and into turn one once again. As Schiller that time it was going a tad wide on the exit of the first corner, but in has come Lucas Dunner from fourth position. And so Lorenzo Fluxa, the Spaniard, now climbing aboard the number 96. That's the second pro motorpark Mercedes. There has had a bit of chop and change in terms of the driver lineup, but Fluxa looking more like the stable companion to Lucas Dunner for the rest of this season. So again, Menzel has to follow the Mercedes. He'll have a very detailed look at the back of that Mercedes by the end of this race. He'll probably be able to describe it in great detail. So the headlights working hard on what is a very dark day at the Red Bull Ring. The clouds have been overshadowing this circuit all day long. We've had smatterings of rains, we've had high-speed winds. There have been weather warnings out. So far it hasn't really arrived. It was a mildly unpleasant during the lunch break with the hoods up and the jackets on, but right now it's looking somewhat decent out there still. Again, utilising the track limits on the outside there, using no, look at that, 3 Oregon Lamborghini line astern, but not necessarily full position. So I assume that's Jordan Pepper putting laps on his teammates, both of whom have come into the pits. Such is Pepper's advantage now over these two cars we've been watching, 6.1 seconds. He's able to have 2 of his teammates in between them. So this is on board with Pepper, about to lap the 19. And having to work to get past his teammates. So he was the 3rd car in the queue there. So the race leader going through and lapping his teammates. I'm sure they would have been told, don't hold up, Jordan. He's leading the race.
Yeah. Obviously, they want to ensure he has as much clean air as possible. Also, saw earlier on Vladislav Lonko lapping Lorenzo Fluxa, obviously coming into the pits, Fluxa to commence his stop. And of course, both those drivers coming out of the realms of single-seaters in recent years. Of course, Fluxa competing in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Now moves into GT3 competition as he has done this campaign. And Vlad Lonko doing something similar, of course, moving into European Le Mans as of last season, working with European Interpol at this point, but now has taken a liking to the GT3 category side of racing, running with Scuderia Villorba Corsa, and of course Patrick Zampieri, the team boss over there, just advising him, and I saw him providing the countdown clock as they were practicing their driver changeovers. So very shortly, Lonko's going to have to put that into practice as we now watch the front, well, should we say 2 of the front 3 making their way around turn 10. Still Schiller keeping Menzel behind.
Yeah, Lomco stand-in driver while Jim Plough's on GT4 duties as he was in Hockenheim. But still, he's been ticking off the types of cars this year, isn't he? Because he also went out in the Euroformula Open earlier in the year, didn't he? So he's done single-seaters, GTs and LMP2 all in 1 year. As still, Menzel looks at the back of Schiller. We are coming up to the end of the driver change window now. 5 minutes left on the clock, so that's on a handful of laps now, really, before Schiller can finally give up the ghost. But he's made a mistake down into turn 3. This is the opportunity that Nico Menzel has been waiting for since the safety car restart. The Mercedes fights back with that V8 grunt on the outside, and could well drag clear before they get to the braking zone. Menzel on the inside line for the next right-hander. This surely is Menzel's second place.
It looks that way. They swap. It looks like Schiller was thinking about doing perhaps a switchback heading out of turn 4, unable to do so, but he's going to try the long way around, coming through towards Roche and Verth Curve, but the inside line for Nico Menzel. So now the attacker becomes the defender, and now Schiller forced to wait him behind as Pierberg now steps in.
And Menzel goes, finally, in the cockpit, I'm sure. Got that move done with only a few laps left in his stint. And so that's going to make life a little bit easier for Gustav Bergström in the second part of the race for sure. As let's see if he can pull away a little bit. But that Mercedes still got some great straight line speed. Even though he went wide in 3, was able to fight back and really out-drag the Porsche going into turn 3. All right, let's try and make sense of this lot. Motorpark Mercedes in amongst Attepto Audi and Greystone McLarens and AF Corsa Ferraris. But how much of it is for position? That's the big question.
Well, I'd imagine it's quite a varied amount. Obviously, Lorenzo Flusha part of this as well. No, that's the 55 motorpark I was looking at, the 95 one just further back too. So, yeah, they're all in different portions of the lineup at this stage.
So this is Rugolo, Rumpfkarl, Acker, Proctor. This is full position between those cars, between sort of 7th,
and here comes Alex
downwards.
Arca now running outside of Timo Rumpfkarl, coming in towards turn 1. Can he hold it together? Running slightly wide and skips over the curb, and just waiting in behind as well is the 95 Motorpark, as now they stretch up through towards turn 3, and they're going to go, I think, almost 3 wide. Timo Rumpfkarl defending aggressively on the run up through towards turn 3. Alex Arca trying to defend back, gives him a nudge in return. The Audi R8 LMS loses control, is going to run wide out of turn 3. Oh, it's getting feisty on the run up through towards Remus, and this time it's Alex Arca who jumps ahead of Timo Rumpfkarl.
That was all a little bit naughty, wasn't it? That was punch and counter punch, but you know what? If Nolan Liam can work it out, so can they.
Straight out of the UFC, everybody, as we now watch them head down through towards turn 4. Timo Rumpfkarl actually giving way to fellow team stable companion. I think that's the 95. Or
yeah, so that'll be Strom's. No, it'll be Thomas Eichen in the car
Eichen, yeah.
now. But that is a lap behind that car because Rumpfkarl hasn't come into the pits yet. Speaking of in the pits, Nico Menzel from second place.
Yeah, Gustav Bergström will now be looking to take the helm with Menzel after that really busy stint trying to keep Schiller in behind. As we now take a look at the driver change now underway. Out comes Menzel, in goes Bergström. Now they're going to be looking for a furiously fast final stint in order to try and potentially enlist a podium, maybe even the big points as well. Pepper still advanced up at the front. He is 8.3 clear of Schiller in second place, but will eventually also have to take his stop very, very soon. But oh, and there's the ISR. Now that is Philip Salakada, who unfortunately has lost it. The Audi R8 LMS stricken, I think, coming out of turn 3.
Now, if that needs a safety car, then this could be great news for everyone in the pits at the moment, and terrible news for anyone who hasn't come in yet. Right, let's see what happened to Philippe Salakada. Just lost it. Bit of an overcorrection. Sliding on the grass, there's going to be no grip on there at all. Does make contact with the concrete barriers there on the outside. And now that could be race done if there's front left suspension damage there. But you see Salakada, he had a swapper and then it comes back on him.
Oof.
And yeah, that's quite a big hit that he's had there. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was significant damage for that car to need intervention. And so into the pits anyway has come Jordan Pepper, our race leader. Less than a minute left on the driver change window. Now, if you haven't come into the pits, you have to do it this lap. And so Schiller in as well. Bash, Coder, Timo van der Helm, Alex Acker, Lewis Proctor will all have to come in as well.
We'll have to keep an eye on Lorenzo Flusha as well. Incidentally, it was turn 10, not turn 3, folks, where Philip Salakada had his spin. But now they look to Bartone to jump into the car for Get Speed. And Schiller jumps out. There is Carol Bash strapping in Marcin Jedlinski. And there's the Blau Motorsport now also making its change alike in the Ferrari. Marcello Han jumping in for Alain Coder after his decent first stint. Alessio Deleda is now taking the lead car. There's led under Jordan Pepper for oh so long. There is Gustav Bergström, who is also part of the lead fight now. He has taken the net lead of the race so far because Lorenzo Flusha did not cross the line ahead of Bergström whilst he was making his pit stop. So now Bergström essentially our net race leader. The driver change window has now stopped. So the final 28 minutes are now underway, and we will now decide who will win this race. As now we watch Bergström round the final corner. The question is, how far does he come out clear of Alessio Deleda? We got some movement there in the garage.
Well,
and that is Bartone heading out. There is Marcin Jedlinski. There is the Jordan Pepper's car, which is now under the control of Alessio Deleda. So it looks like Deleda holds on to the race lead.
But it's very close for second place behind them. Menzel just getting out ahead of Anthony Bartone in the end. And so be thanking his lucky stars that Menzel did put that move on Schiller at the end of the previous stint. Because, oh, no, there's some damage on the back of the Get Speed Mercedes there. The right rear corner flapping around ever so slightly. Now, we didn't see contact between these two cars, so I'm wondering how on earth that's happened.
Well, equally, we can't see any...
Something in the pit lane. Oh, he's clipped the motor part Mercedes going into the garage. Now, that might be considered an unsafe release for the 65, was it not? Heiko Neumann had just got aboard that car.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what race control decide about that. The stewards, I'm sure, will be taking a look at it. But extraordinary scenes there in the pit lane. And unfortunately, some cosmetic damage. It could have been a lot worse, that's for sure.
Well, the important thing, it looks to only be cosmetic.
It looks cosmetic. Obviously, we don't know what's going on under the shell, but still, at this point, it does look like it's just a little bit of bodywork that has just come away from the actual shell of the Mercedes. But yes, an unnerving moment.
And yes, those two cars are under investigation for an unsafe release.
Yeah.
So if there is a penalty going, it will be going to the motor park car. Not that they needed any more bad luck in their AM Championship assault, but nonetheless, that's the way it goes. Right, so Bergström now is pulling away from that number 9 Get Speed car. And now we're going to start to see what the gap or what the pace is between Bergström and Deleda. It is 5.7 seconds. I think it's come down on this out lap, but we'll see once Deleda's up to full racing speed on this lap. We'll see what the true pace is between the two cars. Porsche has not won a race in the International GT Open since the end of the 2022 season. It was Dynamic running the car back then in Barcelona. And of course, this is first season of International GT Open competition for Car Collection Motorsport, who are operating 3 cars for this year. And the Bergström-Menzel Pro car has been on the podium a couple of times, yet to take a win. Could they become our 7th different winner in the GT Open for this year? Well, there's going to be a bit of work still to be done to make that happen.
Yeah, never know. I wouldn't write off Marcos Seber either, who's still chasing after Marzio Moretti. Leonardo Polcini managing to move ahead of Marcin Jedlinski as well, so dispatching the Pro-Am leader down to 4th, and Polcini moves up to 4th place with Jedlinski down in 5th. Polcini chasing after Anthony Bartone, but he's got a little bit of a hill to climb, 6.9 seconds. But if we take a look at the last few laps, I'm sure that will tell a different story. Obviously, it'll take a while before they get the tyres up to significant temperature. But as we now watch them come across,
Gustav Bergström, 9/10 of a second quicker than Alessio Deleda on that last lap. Gap down to 4.8, 24 minutes on the clock, game on.
Plenty of time for Bergström to attack for that race lead, and it could be huge for them. Anthony Bartone has just set a 1:31.664, and by the same token, Leonardo Polcini faster than him, a 1:39.92, so that is approximately 7/10 of a second faster than Bartone in 3rd place. So we've got a battle for all the podium places at this point with 24 minutes to go.
Love it. This is going to be a thrilling end to this race as we see championship protagonist Marcos Seber try to move ahead of the Oregon Lamborghini. In Pro-Am, by the way, still Marcin Jedlinski. There you can see him leading just ahead of Lorenzo Fluxer, but that's not for class position. It's Valentin Pierberg who's most in second, as we do see Fluxer getting that move done on the gentleman driver in the Olymp Audi. So that's for 5th position overall. You'd expect Jedlinski to go backwards against the pro cars because he is the gentleman driver in that car. So he's got to watch out for Pierberg, who is in 10th position, 2nd in class, and then the number 16 AF Corsa Blau Ferrari is 2 cars behind them, Marcelo Hahn. Remember, they had a handicap to take as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yellow flag's been waved there in 3rd sector, so once again, I think they must still be dealing with perhaps Salakada's car there further back. Just saw the LEDs flashing on the side of the track, but nonetheless, the driver's still moving through, no concerns. Back to green in sector 1 nonetheless, and they will persevere as now we ride on board here with Alessio Deleda, who is now climbing up towards the top of the hill, but still being persevered on by Gustav Bergström, just jumping past Adam Osaka in the immediate after Kiki Saknana took the wheel of that Getsby performance car at the very start of the race, and Gustav Bergström managing to find nearly 8. Well, he went over an 8 1/4 faster than Alessio Deleda. So 8 1/4 tenths faster. And further back, Leonardo Polcini also going to work on Anthony Bartone. Over the last lap, he was 1.2 seconds faster than Bartone. So Polcini turning on the style.
And the fastest of the top 4 at the moment, 12.8 off the lead. This is going to brew up very nicely towards the end of the race as more of the pro runners try and make their way through on Jedlinski here. So it's Marzio Moretti and Marcos Seibert next up the road. Of course, we've got an interesting battle up the front between Deleda, the Lamborghini junior driver, and Gustav Bergström, the Carrera Cup Scandinavia convert. Still racing in that championship, but this is first year of GT3 competition. So two young guns, really, well, especially in the form of Bergström, just 21 years old. We see Marzio Moretti, another young driver for Lamborghini in the Oregon car. The Oregon team, of course, have had plenty of success with developing Lamborghini talent, and it is a 5-second time penalty for the 65. So the AM leading motorpark car for that unsafe release we saw against the number 9 Getspeed car. Now here comes Seibert, and here comes Moretti as well. Now, of course, what Moretti doesn't want to do is lose overall position to Seibert as well, because that's the same car in his class. But Jedlinski runs out wide, and both cars ended up finding their way through at turn 1 anyway. But Seibert, the Argentinian, has got good momentum here on the Lamborghini in front of him, and so might try and move. Well, he's late on the brakes. Is Seibert? Is he going to get it stopped? Not really. Runs off the road. Comes out ahead of the Lamborghini still, though, and I'm sure Marzio will be straight on the radio saying, he passed me off the track. And yes, he's yielding the place. But he's also got to try and not let Jedlinski through at the same time. So this is going to be some precise driving, and he does manage to get it done. So that was good awareness there from Marcos Seibert to let that place go immediately.
Almost shades of Hamilton Rosberg without the contact coming out of turn 3, but in comes Seibert with another look at the inside this time. Unfortunately, not on this occasion. Still the Oregon Lamborghini taking them through. Moretti doing a great job of holding on to it. Of course, remained on the circuit coming out of turn 3. Seibert reneging in behind, but keenly enough, both cars getting past Marcin Jedlinski. So have moved in terms of the overall current standing. They have gone up a place apiece with Moretti up at the 6, Seibert chasing after him. Remember, Seibert and Menchaca yet to score a victory this campaign. They've scored every single podium under the sun. Their only scoring rounds have been on podiums. They've only scored podiums this season. They haven't had any other points in the top 10. It's all been about the top 2 or the top 3 places. As now they come through towards turn 1 once again. Deleda still leading the gap between he and Bergström now 3.6. The last lap again, Deleda was a little better. He did a 1:37.93 with Bergström at 1:38.51. So only a small fragment between the pair. Polcini with a personal best in the last lap as well, and he went 0.6 quicker, or should I say well, looking at it on my screen, 1.6, yeah, 1.6 faster than Bartone.
I wonder if Bergström on that last lap had some traffic. There were some cars between the top 2, and so that might explain that one. The gap is down to 3.6. Time penalty, meanwhile, for the number 7. That's a 5-second time penalty for not serving the handicap correctly.
It's Bashar
third
Mardini.
penalty. Yeah, it's the car collection Mardini, as you say. That is currently 5th in Pro-Am and 5 seconds ahead of Florian Scholzer, so that might well cost it track position by the end of the race.
Yeah, Leonardo Polcini just posted a personal best in Sector 2, so once again, grinding out something out of Anthony Bartone, and he's only 1.6 behind now. Remember that gap was 6 to 7 seconds not too long ago? Well, Polcini is now starting to close up, and we've still got 18 minutes and 25 to go as we get confirmation there from race controllers. Car number 7 with a 5-second time penalty, that being Bashar Mardini for serving less time than a handicap at this point.
I think there might have been another one then for Tsunami as well. Of course, that's their first GT Open pit stop, and they do have to take 5 seconds for being a new entry, so I think they might have just got caught out by that as well.
Well, fortunate for them, as we now watch Seabear once again climbing the hill up through towards turn 3. And still after Marzio Moretti, who has been with the Oregon Lamborghini squad now for quite some time. Obviously has been battling it out in Super Trofeo historically, and now driving for them here in the International GT Open under the GT3 banner. So we watch them. Yeah, there we are. That, by the looks of it, is Polcini closing on the back of Anthony Bartone, and Flusha following on in behind. And car 16 with a 5-second time penalty for less time handicap, so not fulfilling the pit stop requirements and therefore being served with a 5-second.
That's something wrong with everyone's stopwatches today, and that was one of the more handicapped cars, the AF Corsa Run Blau Motorsport Ferrari 296 of Alam Kader and Marcelo Hahn. That was 20 seconds they were supposed to take. They haven't done it correctly, so they're getting a 5-second penalty for that.
Yeah. Obviously still a lot to unfold, 17 minutes still to go. Deledda still up at the front and unconcerned at the moment.
And he's responding. The gap's build back up, 4.4 seconds.
He was faster in the last lap by a good 0.5 of a second. So
that's real pace. That's real pace from them. But this is now for third between Bartone and Polcini.
And the 2022 champion, we call him across the line with Benjamin Hites, when they went to clinch the crown after a battle between Nick Moss and Joe Osborne as they duelled at Barcelona. But now Polcini's got another battle here, this time at Red Bull Ring, and they've got a little bit of traffic with Stanislav Jedlinski. Polcini is going to look to get a better run coming out of turn 3, and it's going to go wheel to wheel here with Anthony Bartone. And surely the grunt here for the Mercedes, can it withstand the pressure against the Lamborghini Huracan GT3? I don't quite think so. The 2022 champion Leonardo Polcini moves up into the podium places as he steps out of turn 4.
Well, that was opportunistic from Polcini. So Bartone trying to lap the Olymp Ferrari ahead of him. Now he's got damage on the left-hand side as well as the right. At least on the bodywork anyway, and of course that's cost him position. Now, George, while we were watching that, I have just noticed that Mikhail Pitamba pulled into pit lane at some point and is some 4 laps down now. Now, of course, that is one of the super consistent championship entries we've had all season long.
It'd be the first time they'd be at the points.
It would be. It would be their first non-score of the season. As we see this moment again between Jedlinski and Bartone that allowed Polcini to come through and take third position.
Unfortunate there, obviously the two coming together, and a clap there from the Oregon garage. Obviously Jordan Pepper watching it unfold with Leonardo Polcini, Lamborghini factory driver, moving his way on through. That's Rolf Eichen in the background, who's come back after that big crash at Spa. Great to see him returning here to the International GT Open, and of course we do wish Rolf very well, and also well done Simon Connor Prim for filling in so valiantly as well. Last lap, Deledda wasn't quite so good. 31-1, has lost time once more to Gustav Bergström, and Polcini on the move still, lapping faster than Bergström right now, and Deledda as a consequence. As now we watch Marzio Moretti trying to close up to the back of Stanislav Jedlinski as well as alike. That's the 19 Oregon this time. As it stands, Oregon have all 3 cars in the top 6.
Yeah, amazing performance from them, really, isn't it? But we saw one Oregon Lamborghini going forward. Is one about to move backwards with Seabear trying to go through. So that was late move there for Moretti trying to lap Jedlinski, and I could see Seabear trying to open up the door on the left-hand side, see if he could try and follow him through, but not enough momentum.
It's amazing how much it narrows up around turn 4. It really does shrink up as soon as you hit the apex, so credit to Moretti for getting that done.
Yeah, nicely done, but still Seabear looking for an opportunity. 7th position for the entry that is 4th in the championship standings going into this weekend. They've had some tried and troubled moments, engine issues that have cost him in Portimao and in Paul Ricard. Look how much speed he carried into the final quarter there compared to Marzio Moretti. Amazing stuff. Surely he's going to be so much quicker down the straight here, and might well challenge him into turn one. It's not typically an overtaking opportunity, but if he can get the run. Runs out wide though, does the Argentinian, but should still have some good momentum going down this back straight here towards turn 3. It's the biggest stop on the racetrack, but they're going to throw out the anchors to get it slowed down for this first gear hairpin. But no way through still for Seabear. Can't get on the brakes late enough, but lovely switchback though from the Mercedes. That has been a very quick car in a straight line. So let's see, with a bit of a slipstream as well, down another straight in towards another big stop. Well, we thought the Mercedes was quick in a straight line. The Lambo looks even faster. Oh, very close on the brakes again for Seabear, though. Closes up so much. The closing speed is scary.
Keeping that car pointed into the apex is Marcos Seabear, of course, our European Le Mans champion from last season, partnered up with another GT Sport alumni in Alejandro Garcia, who competed in the Euro Formula Championship, much like Seabear did only a couple of years ago, and now back under the GT Sport banner as he was last season here in the GT Open. Still persevering is Marcos Seabear, and looking to obviously take this championship alongside his close friend Diego Menchaca, but first and foremost needs to try and get past Marzio Moretti to try and continue at least their brilliant podium scoring record of this season. The win looks unlikely given the fact that they've got a huge amount of time to gain in between the cars that are in front, and also getting past the traffic. Deleta's still out in front and has managed to gap again on top of Bergstrom. I mean, that gap now is 6/10 he gained in that last lap, with Bergstrom lapping a 1:31.317, and Pulcini for Bergstrom has now become the concern.
Pro-Am battle slightly further down, so Eddie Cheever trying to regain some of the ground lost from the handicap. He's 8th in his class at the moment, but actually this was Fabio Babini moving ahead of our reigning Pro-Am champion and championship leader into 7th in class. So Babini, he is a race winner in the International GT Open some years ago. Of course, multiple other accolades in Super Trofeo and Le Mans Cup and Le Mans Series to go with it as well. But yeah, he said, oh, reigning champion, championship leader, yeah, I'll have you.
Yeah, just a fantastic driver. It's Fabio Babini, obviously someone we witnessed in the GT Cup Open Europe as well, where he once again drives Porsches. We're on board here with the car belonging to Dean McDonald and Greystone GT on their maiden visit here this campaign.
Yeah, and closing in on Seabear and Moretti as well for 6th, 7th and 8th.
You'll thank Moretti for that.
Yeah, he will. McLaren factory driver, of course, running very well in what is Greystone GT's first pro effort in the International GT Open. And just talking to the team, they are so happy to see this car out on track, and it could be the start of something a little bit bigger for the British outfit, who will plan to fill that car for the rest of the season and maybe for next year as well. Right, Marcos Seabear still on the back of Marzio Moretti here. Can he do anything about the Lamborghini in front? Lorenzo Flukes is not far in front of them as well. It's only 2.4 seconds up to 5th position. And that Lamborghini's just looking so good in a straight line right now. He can't do anything about it.
No, Marzio Moretti's doing a fantastic job. Of course, Seabear is no slouch when it comes to racing, and is a true professional. Timo Rumpfkarl there waiting in the garage after finishing his stint, opening up, of course. And as we now watch them head down through towards turn 4. I mean, we talk about McLaren with Dean McDonald and James Kell. I mean, McLaren have had successes in the past, and there's Bashar Mardini into the pits.
Getting fuel.
It's bizarre. Did they fuel too light?
Did they miscalculate it? Was there a problem with the rig maybe in the original pit stop? That's very bizarre to see, especially with still 10 minutes remaining in the race, unless they accidentally gave it the race 2 fuel, which is obviously 10 minutes shorter than this race. Of course, that's just wild speculation, but well, we said a lap ago, oh, McDonald's closing in on them. He's closed in on them. He's right on the back of Seabear now. Yeah,
McLarens have had success in the past, obviously with Sander Hahn, Charlie Eastwood back in 2021, and Charlie Eastwood did it again in 2020. One of the only drivers to go back-to-back in terms of taking race victories year on year in the International GT Open here at Red Bull Ring, and Oliver Wilkinson and Johnny Adam did it the year before that. So let's watch Dean McDonald fly up through towards turn 3. There we can see just leading this trio up at the top. Further back, Marcus Seibert just in between them, and Di McDonald is absolutely flying and having a little look up the inside, just throwing a warning here to Marcus Seibert. Getting the switchback now, coming out of turn 3. Look to have a better run coming out, but I think Seibert put a stopper in that.
That twin-turbo engine in the McLaren is slightly less hindered here because we're at altitude. He's going to draw alongside here under braking. Yeah, so we're about 700 meters of altitude here, and the naturally aspirated engines are, of course, you know, lacking a little bit of air and therefore power. But the twin turbo cars, so the V6s and the McLaren, or any other turbocharged car for that matter, gets a little bit of that back because there's less air resistance on the turbo. And so they can get a bit of that back. They're less affected by the altitude, essentially. That's why we always see great top speeds in the F1 in Mexico, because it's so high up. And so let's see if that McLaren has got the legs on the Mercedes. We're struggling to get the legs on the Lamborghini, I'm sure, which has proven to be very quick in a straight line. McLaren has also got the lightest car here this weekend, so I'm sure that they were also hoping to have a little bit of rain, because that would have served them very well indeed. But Di McDonald, in his first appearance here in the International GT Open, is setting his sights on 2 seasoned drivers in front of him.
Yeah, Di McDonald now obviously pirouetting out of the first corner. Was a McLaren GT Driver Academy member back in 2015. That is where the story pretty much started. Since then, has gone on a rampage of championships in the past, taking part in GT4 competition in the European Series and GT World Challenge. And we've got 2 motorpark cars. Oh, a spinner. Now, goodness me, that looks like it's at a 65, sorry. The 65 going for a spin, coming out of the...
Thomas Eichen. Oh, no, sorry, 65. It's Heiko Neumann.
Yeah, obviously, Timo Rumpfkarl did the opening stint, and Neumann doing the second stint towards the very end. We've got 6 minutes and 50 to go.
So that's lost them the AM lead, I think, because it's now Ziad Gandor
on his maiden start.
So of course. Yes, we've had Frederic Lacour win both races now in his wildcard entry in Paul Ricard, and now Gandor's going to maybe do the same. But I think he might be doing the rest of the season, actually. So we'll see. That could be
it's a good championship for maiden runners
of the year. Yes, it is. Right, Di McDonald's got a run here on Marcos Seibert going into the penultimate corner. Seibert recognises that and defends. 6 minutes left on the clock for these guys to sort this one out. But McDonald is looking very racy out there at the moment. The man from Cowdenbeath, a 23-year-old. That's in Scotland, by the way. But, all Scottish lineup alongside the other Scottish lineup of the Proctors as well in the Greystone GT garage. And now Seibert looked like the one with the run on Moretti. And when you get multiple cars in a battle, it is amazing how much it starts to ebb and flow like this, and they've got traffic in front of them as well. That's surely going to play a role as McDonald has to take to the curbing on the left-hand side.
He's almost doing what Seibert did as well earlier on.
Interesting message just popped up on the timing screen. Pit stop of car 10. The race leader will be investigated after the race.
Goodness
now, what
me.
happened there? Well, we'll see tomorrow, hopefully.
Well, he's only 5.3 ahead of Gustav Bergström, so even if it's a 5-second time penalty, if Bergström gets within 5 seconds...
They are going to want that cover, aren't they? Yeah. They are going to say, you need to keep 5 seconds ahead of Bergström just to cover us off, as McDonald wrestling with that McLaren through turn 6. But, wow, what could have possibly happened in that pit stop that needs investigating?
The team manager as well for car 17 has been called as well, which is Marcos Seibert's car. So that would be to Motorpark team being asked to report to race control immediately.
Here is the race leader on the back of some traffic. So one of the Pro-Am car collection Porsches just in front of him. I think that'll be Bashar Mardini, won't it, at the wheel of that car.
That's brought the gap down to 3.8.
Yeah, it has. That's really changed it. That's not going to be enough to cover off a 5-second penalty. And a little undecisive. Going into turn 3, it gets it done eventually. It needs to stay out of the way of the back markers. You see, look, there's loads of traffic he's coming up on now. Now, maybe this is going to determine the end of the race. In the last 4 minutes is going to be about how quickly you can get through the traffic, because Bergström gained 1.4 seconds on that previous lap.
And not only that, Leonardo Polcini gained quite a bit of time in his own right, of course, nestling in
another
approximately
half a
second gap. So bear in mind, this could be a 3-car scrap for the race victory here at Red Bull Ring in race 1. We still got 3 minutes and 50 to go. Plenty of time for a twist in the tail. And I mean, if Bergstrom keeps lapping like he is right now, it'll be 2 laps and it'll be a final lap shootout, you'd fathom, for the race lead. Obviously, things have to go perfectly for that to happen, and there is traffic. There is Gustav Bergstrom making his way through Rink Corner now.
So it's the number 10 crew, Jordan Pepper and Alessio Deletta, going for their second win of the season. It's Car Collection Porsche going for their first win of the season. It's Polcini going for his second as well, and a first for Rolf in Icon of the year as well. So either way, it's either going to be Lamborghini for a third time this year, or Porsche for the first, as this battle for 6th position rages on as well. They've caught up to Lorenzo Fluxer as well, so this is now a 4-car battle for 5th place. Absolutely loving this. 3 minutes left on the clock, and the Motorpark car in the lead of that queue, trying to lap some of the back markers as well. That'll be Michael Blanchimont at the wheel of the car, I believe, in the Villorba Corsa run Mercedes. They're all going to blast past him here on the run into turn 3. The rain light flashing away on the back of the cars, just adding to the ambience. And again, McDonald very good on the brakes, and Michael Blanchimont almost going into the back of the Lamborghini in front of him, and ended up taking to the escape road and exiting stage left. And now the move from Moretti on the outside of Lorenzo Fluxer for 5th position, but has a big squirm there, does the Italian. That allows Seabed to go through. And Dean McDonald, can McDonald make it 2 in 1 here? The Scotsman draws level with Marcos Seabed. Now he's going to have to go the long way round. They bang wheels. They're rubbing panels as they head down towards turn 6. Again, seesawing at the wheel as the Mercedes just looms into view and hangs on to the spot just about. That was very tight again. I'll tell you what, George, it looks like it's getting slightly wetter out there. There's more rain on those cameras.
Yeah, real creativity being put on display here from Dean McDonald. Needed to try and do something to force back against Seabear, and he went for that inside line coming out of Verth Curve. Didn't quite pull it off, but they've now come out of Rint and head down through towards Red Bull Mobile Curve once more. 1 minute and just over 30 to go left here in this International GT Open race here at Red Bull Ring. Race 1 to kick off the weekend. Up at the top, still Alessio Deletta, but he's 4.4 still to the good, ahead of Gustav Bergstrom, but Polcini is going to work for 2nd place. He's 1.6 away. There could yet be a final lap scrap only between Gustav Bergstrom and Leonardo Polcini.
Well, and of course that would, if that were to change, it would make it a 1-2 for Oregon. Once again, 10 leading 63. There was that on the road in Hockenheim, but that was taken away by a penalty for Polcini, and so they would hope that this one would stand. And that is the gap. It's the Porsche, the blue Porsche, and then the Lamborghini, the pink, yellow and green machine, being separated by the lapped Motorpark Mercedes between them. What we've been watching all that, by the way, Racing 1 have gotten into the lead of Pro-Am. It's Giacomo Alto, our 2019 overall champion, who's standing in for David Fuminelli this weekend, who has taken the lead away from Marcin Jedlinski. So I think that would be 2nd win of the season for them. I'll have to check that later, but it is really closing up now between Polcini and Bergstrom as we head on to the final lap of this race.
Yeah, and also Giacomo Alto, a winner back in 2019 alongside Albert Costa, so he knows what it's like to win around here. It looks like he's set to win in class, this time in Pro-Am, as long as he can bring it home in this vein. We'll wait and see whether he can do that. He is ahead of Vincent Abril as well, overall alike, as we now head through up towards turn 3 once more. Final lap in full procedure. It's still Alessio Deletta, and he looks set to take yet another victory for he and Oregon team.
Wipers
as they
on,
come
George.
through. The rain has indeed come out, so it's a challenge now for Deletta to bring it home in such desperate conditions as they now burst down through towards turn 4. Bergstrom still 3.7 behind. Polcini is within a second. He's 8/10 away. So vastly experienced here in this championship after winning it back in 2022. He's going to need all of that experience should he wish to lift aloft that 2nd place. Anthony Bartone also trying to relentlessly keep Lorenzo Flucher in behind. Also Marcos Seabear, Dean McDonald as well, who's only 5/10 behind Seabear as well, being dragged along. But it has been certainly a stellar fight on show. There is Leonardo Polcini, still on the back of Gustav Bergstrom, but I think it's too little, too late here at this stage. He has given it his all, but a podium even in P3, will have to be the best result they could muster as they now venture in towards the final few corners. Alessio Deleda, who took over from Jordan Pepper, who put it on pole in qualifying this morning. Oregon, they've celebrated 3 in their last 4. In the last 2 seasons have come into this circuit of Red Bull Ring. They're going to make it a magic number 4 in 5. It's Alessio Deleda, your victor here at Spielberg, here in race 1 at the Red Bull Ring. A fantastic display. Bergstrom across the line in second. Leonardo Polcini makes it a double Team Oregon Lamborghini podium across the line as 2 Mercedes go line astern. Flusha coming across along with Bartone. Bartone did enough to hold on as well, with Dean McDonald in 6th place ahead of Marcos Seibert.
1/10 of a second separating Bartone and Fluxa at the end. Dean McDonald on the last lap taking 6th position for Greystone GT. Great first race for their pro effort. Chris Farsa, championship leader, 9th in the end. And Jacopo Alto does give Racing One victory in the Pro-Am classification as well. Jedlinski and Pierberg joining him on the podium. As wow, yeah, really great end to that race. As a couple of penalties just coming through as the timer screen updates itself, but what a thrilling half a second between Bergstrom and Polcini as well for 2nd place right at the end. Really close to a 1-2 finish for Oregon, but it's the 2nd victory of the season for Alessio Deleda and Jordan Pepper, and that is going to put Alessio Deleda at the lead of the championship.
Yeah, fantastic effort from Alessio Deleda. Jordan Pepper, who missed out being alongside him in the past after taking part in some racing over in stateside with the IMSA Championship, and now back alongside Alessio Deleda. Of course, sticking it on pole was basically the starting pistol to what would have been a fantastic race for them. He knew that coming into wet weather conditions this afternoon, as long as his car was in front, the rest would happen by itself in behind, and that's exactly what happened. Even though the wet, or should I say the rain, took a little while to come down, we watch again as Alessio Deleda brings it around the final 2 corners and did it in great style, didn't he, just? And obviously the reactions on the face of Pier Giorgio Testa tells a story, and I must say a very relaxed that has got to be Jerry Canavicio, usually the most affluent person you'd ever see when it comes to celebrations. But yeah, a little calmer this time. Knows that they've got to come back though tomorrow to do it all again.
Very different to Hockenheim when he was screaming over the pit wall and waving frantically the last time this car won.
The first one's always special, though, isn't it, through the course of a season? I mean, credit, though, to Deleda. He's had, you know, obviously ups and downs in his motorsport career, but this is definitely displaying plenty of those ups at the moment. And working with this team at Oregon that are proven to develop drivers to becoming great Lamborghini drivers. Has to be said, Leonardo Polcini, off the back of the 2022 success, becoming a factory driver for the manufacturer. And Oregon now have him back. And a grand display as well from Gustav Bergstrom right to the end to keep Polcini in behind, because we know how much of a tiger Leonardo Polcini is behind the wheel. He's not afraid to make the big moves. Let's take you through the results, folks, after that fantastic race. Alessio Deleda and Jordan Pepper victorious here at Red Bull Ring. 2nd place for Gustav Bergstrom and Nico Menzel. Rolf van Eycken and Leonardo Polcini in 3rd, making an Oregon team 1 and 3. Barton and Schiller in 4th. For Lucas Dunn and Lorenzo Flusha 5th. Dean McDonald and Kell in 6th place. We then have Diego Menchaca, Marcos Seibert in 7th. Moretti, Petrov 8th. Riker and Haase in 9th. Winner of Pro-Am, it was Kirk Meyer, as well as Giacomo Alto, Moran Angeli and Abril in 11th. Jedlinski and Bash 12th. Pierberg Walker 13th. Polcini Chiva in 14th. Zelga and Babini in 15th. Marcello Han, Alan Coder 16th. Morten Stromstead, Thomas Eichen 17th. Hash, Fontana in 18th. Muller and Mettler in 19th. Florian Scholze then further back. We take a look then at Borodin and Webb in 21st. Wirra Arrow in 22nd. The 2 Proctors in 23rd. Zayed Gandor in 24th. In fact, the winner of the AM contingent, Giuseppe Cipriani in 25th. Neumann and Rumpfkarl in 26th. Mardini, Van der Helm then further back. And we can take you through the rest of the order towards the rear, of course. It was left to Salicata and Milotto. We lost Regulo, Forgione, as well as Baumann, Pitamba, Cosi, Giotto very early on. But we can now head down to Parc Ferme with Alfredo. Well, we'll take you through our top three first and foremost. Third place, Rolf van Eiken and Leonardo Polcini. A fantastic effort on part of them. They fought through to the bitter end in the final stint. Gustav Bergstrom, Nico Menzel in second place. But they could not quite catch the one Alessio Deleda after an incredible stint to kick things off from Jordan Pepper. Deleda brought it home, and we'll hear from them now with Alfredo.
And so we are with Jordan Pepper and Alessio Deleda, winners of race 1 at the Red Bull Ring. Jordan, this morning you took pole, and how was the first stint?
Yeah, it was all right. I was actually a bit upset when the safety car came out because we built up quite a good gap directly. Obviously, it was quite fun. Those mixed conditions always enjoyable. When there's just one dry line, it was good fun. And then obviously the restart, I think we were able to switch on the tires much better than the others. Built up a good gap, and then yeah, just made sure to give Alessio the car in the best possible position. And very proud of the job he's done. You know, he's developing each race step by step. So today, for sure, he had to also do quite a lot of work there, and his pace was strong, so it was good.
Yeah, Alessio, you held the pressure in the second stint, and so now it's a second win this year.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. I think today he did most of the job, my teammate and the team, because they did a really good quali, and he left me the car with quite a big gap, so I just had to handle the gap and bring it to the end, which I managed. There was a bit of traffic, there was a bit of rain, but in the end we managed it well.
It's good for the champion.
Yes, really good.
Well done, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Well, he has every reason to be delighted, but first and foremost, let's talk you through the story. A great start here at Red Bull Ring in race 1 for Jordan Pepper to take the Oregon team Lamborghini up to the very front. They led from the front after taking pole position at the very start. Fabian Schiller would hold on to second after managing to get past as well the sea of cars ahead. Obviously, it was a tough day for Hash, who ended up making contact after Kiki Santana made contact with him. Both of them went wide then, heading out of Rint Corner. And we then saw wheel-to-wheel action between the two Oregon team Lamborghinis. Of course, it was Petrov and Eichen who came toe-to-toe coming through Rauschenwerth curve. Nico Menzel put in a heroic first stint, finally managing to get past Fabian Schiller, who he was threatening to get by throughout the entirety of the race. It was a sad day as well for ISR Audi, Philip Salicada and Libor Malotta crashing out coming through the final two corners on that lap. In came then Fabian Schiller, made contact with the Team Motorpark Mercedes as well. Obviously, that one was investigated by race control. And then we saw the car belonging to Marcin Jedlinski being pursued and eventually challenged by the Motorpark Mercedes. We then saw a spin for Thomas Eichen further back as well, unfortunately coming unstuck and onto the side of the road. But fortunately enough for him, not into the gravel trap. But it was a fantastic day for Alessio Deleda and Jordan Pepper. They make it Oregon 4 out of 5 victories here at Red Bull Ring in the last 2 seasons.
Mega, buddy. Good job. Well done. Very good.
In fact, it'll be in the last 3 seasons if we factor in this one along with 2022 and 2023. Of course, 2022 is where they went back-to-back in race wins. You never know, they could do it again. Of course, they have to do it all again tomorrow, but there is still a chance, Chris.
No, there's every opportunity, but there's plenty of other cars out there that are going to try and deny them that. And of course, they'll have to take handicap tomorrow as well. You know, think about Christopher Haas finishing ninth, for example. Take away his 15 seconds of handicap that he had, and he's on the podium. So
they're going to need a good qualifying tomorrow as well.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and there'll be Haas at the wheel for that one. But that's just how it changes over every race weekend, and it's based on the handicaps. It's based on whether you get a safety car during the right time. That safety car in the first stint definitely didn't help them because they had the handicap to serve. But for the top 3, this is really good news for the championship to see Deleda and Pepper on top, because this is going to keep things fresh and Of course, Jerry Canavicio going to join them on the top step. And so for Oregon's win, it will be the Italian national anthem.
The national anthem of Italy.
Well, celebrations here for the Italian outfit of Team Oregon. Of course, Jerry Canavicio standing alongside former champion here of this series, Leonardo Polcini. And very shortly the champagne will flow. But first and foremost, the trophy presentation. And obviously congratulations are in order from the Michelin representative as they now present the third place trophy to Rolf van Eiken and Leonardo Polcini. Great to see Rolf van Eiken back, and he certainly looks just as fit as he did at the start of the season, Chris.
Yes, a fine return to racing for Rolf van Eiken with a podium finish. He certainly wasn't wasting any time in qualifying this morning. It's a third podium of the season for Car Collection, Gustav Bergström and Nico Menzel. Second, once again, so near so far. That first win for the team still eludes them. But for Alessio Deleda, it's very good news in the championship now, with his second victory of the season.
Yeah, win number 2 and podium number 4. And so they're continuing to be successful here in the International GT Open, and more to come as well, with obviously one more race to come tomorrow. And then we take a trip to Montemelo, Barcelona, for the penultimate round, and then we finish things off at Monza at the Temple of Speed with obviously the big enduro, where double points will be factored in as they were back at Spa. But the celebrations now erupt with the champagne flowing, and not wasting any time to certainly get those overalls damp. So obviously the washing machine will have to be used. I think they've got one outside, but that will come in very useful, I think, looking ahead to tomorrow. But great work from Team Oregon, who once again show how good they can be around the Red Bull Ring circuit. It's an unbelievable record that they do carry here, only missing out on one race in the last 5 that we have had. 4 race wins in the last 5 races we've had here at Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, I mean, absolute front-runner team, aren't they? They've developed so much strong young Lamborghini talent. Of course, Leonardo Polcini, the year he won the championship with Oregon, he was a Lamborghini junior, and then after he won the crown, he was given factory status. There are plenty of other young drivers in that team who are hoping to get the same sort of treatment, and hope to get onto that program, which of course now includes a LMDH program as well. So racing at Le Mans, it's not just the GT program anymore, but onto the Pro-Am podium with Valentin Pierberg and Aaron Walker on the podium for the 4th time this season, I believe. 3rd time, sorry. After their win last time out in Paul Ricard. Of course, Marcin Jedlinski and Carol Bash, they close up a little bit on Marco Polcini, the Pro-Am points leader, with 2nd position there, their 5th time on the podium. And it's a 2nd class win of the season for Ernst Kirkmeyer after his win in Budapest. That was alongside Luca Ludwig, and then on the podium with David Fuminelli in Hungaroring, and now winner with Giacomo Alto as well, who's basically, he's done the perfect job standing in for this weekend.
It's been a good time for Valentin Pierberg lately. That's his 2nd class podium in his last 3 races. Of course, he took a great podium finish when we last went racing at Paul Ricard in race 1. But the trophy's lifted aloft by the drivers, and Ernst Kirkmeyer will be absolutely thrilled with that. And Giacomo Alto, who's been so successful in the past here in this championship, a champion and former race winner here at Red Bull Ring, And I'm sure we'll see him back soon.
I just noticed as well that Chiva was at 12 seconds off the podium, and of course they had 15 seconds of handicap, so they definitely would have been on the podium without that, of course, but that's why we call it a handicap. And so that's real damage limitation done there. And also shout out to Tsunami, 5th in class in their first race in the GT Open.
Yeah, great effort from them. Obviously, especially with Johannes Selger and Babini coming in across from GT Cup Open territory. Two different beasts. Obviously, the power ramps up when it comes to GT3 racing. And Giuseppe Cipriani, I know all about that. Obviously, he's been contesting here in the GT Open for quite a long time, a champion of the past, and has won races as well. But this time he will take second place. Timo Römfkarl and Heiko Neumann on the third step of the podium. Obviously, they took the championship in AM class last season, but will still persevere. Of course, Cipriani was pretty much leading the AM championship race so far this campaign. And I think will continue to do so.
Yeah, quite a healthy advantage he has there at the moment. Got 16 points, I think, so almost 2 wins worth. But of course, Neumann and Römfkarl in their freshly rebuilt Mercedes. But they did go through the wars a little bit in that race. Of course, the unsafe release, spin for Neumann as well.
The battle with Alex Arca as well.
Yeah, of course. So Cipriani extending his championship lead there a little bit. But he is the only driver not to take any drop scores so far this season. So when we apply that at the end of the season, he will drop a little bit of that advantage. But for Zayed Gandor, I believe his first time racing in Europe, and it's victory. Oh no, and the trophy's gone. That's not a good way to start.
We'll get you another one.
Well, they have 2, don't they? Because there's normally 2 drivers in the lineup. He's running solo. Get the spare one.
So he gets
there
a spare one.
Get the T trophy.
Yeah, fantastic job. Wonderful job there, certainly, on part of Zayed Gandor in his maiden start here in the International GT Open. He came from the States. He wins here in Europe. But, folks, that is all we've got time for. We'll see you tomorrow for qualifying in the morning.